Alright, today we're going to get started working on a skateboard in OnShape. And we have a nice deck here. Usually these are made out of different plies of wood, and then they're all glued together and shaped in many different ways. But uh, today we're going to make it in OnShape using mainly the sweep command, right? So you can see I have a couple different things going on here in order to uh, start. So first thing we're going to do is create a new document and name it Skateboard. I'm going to make mine inside here. I'm just going to make a new part studio and of course rename it to deck. Right, so I have a deck already, so I'll rename this one so that we don't get confused. So this is the deck example, and then we'll start with our deck. So first thing we want to do, and I'll just kind of go through visually with you on exactly what is going on, but first thing we're going to do is create a mirrored sketch. So if I double click sketch 1, we can see what it's going to look like, and then we can do it, right? So we'll create a mirrored sketch on the right plane, right? So I'll go into deck here, create a new sketch, and on the right plane, I'll move my view. First thing I want to do is create a construction line from the origin, and we're going to use that, doesn't matter how long it is, right? So you have to click construction line and line here so that we can use that to mirror, right? So now we got a couple more lines here that we need to create. So number one, we have our just flat part of the deck, and then it starts to curve up, right? So we can actually just create one of these, and then we can use the offset command to move the other one up. And then we can just connect them, right? So we want to draw a line over that's 2 inches, and then we want to place this dot 0.375 from the origin and 4.125 from the origin this way, right? So that's just creating a point. So I'll grab my line tool, click on my origin, drag it over, and I said I need this to be 2 inches, right? So I'll use my dimension tool and make that 2 inches. Next thing I'm going to do is grab the point tool, right? And I'm just going to place it up over here somewhere. It literally doesn't matter where I place it because I'm going to use my dimension tool to fix that anyway. And I said I needed that point to be 0.375 from the what would be the y-axis cutting across here. And then I need it to go up the z-axis 0.375. So 4.125 and then 0.375. So I'm going to grab my dimension tool, click on that point, and say from here to here, that needs to be 0.375. And then from here to here, that needs to be 4.125. All right, so that's our end point pretty much. Now we want to come up to our arc tool and select tangent arc because I want to take the tangent from here to the end. It'll give us a nice curve from the end point of this to the point. Right, and that gives us our profile essentially as if we were cutting through a quarter of a skateboard. Next thing we're going to do is grab this offset tool, select the line and the tangent arc. And we're going to bring that up. You can just hit enter and it'll let you edit. We're going to bring that up 1/2 of an inch, so 0.5. And then I'm just going to grab my line tool and connect the two. All right. So again, I'm going to hit the mirror tool, and we have to select the mirror line first, not the profile. So I'll select this construction line first, then I'll highlight everything, and you'll see it'll pop over to the other side. So hit that check mark, and that ends our first sketch, right? And we could extrude that, but it's still not going to give us the right shape that we want, right? So actually, we need to determine our sweep first. Let me rotate this, right? So we did our profile. That'll give us our curve of the board that way. Now we need to give it a sweep path to give it the curves going the other way to create what would be the tail and the nose of the board. Right, so I'll double click on sketch 2 and we can take a look at what we're dealing with. Right, again, we have a mirrored sketch because we want it to be identical. It's on the front plane, and we basically do the same thing. Right, we create a line that's 12 inches long. We create a point that's 1.188 inches up from here, so 1 3/16, and then 15 1/4 along this way. All right, so I'll come this way, create a sketch on the front view. I do need to create another construction line because we don't want to use the other one. So I'm just going to draw the construction line. Doesn't matter how big it is, but I'm going to then come from the origin point over, and I said we wanted that to be 12. Yeah, 12. So dimension 12. All right, and then I'm going to take that point, place it somewhere over here. Again, doesn't really matter. I'm going to make that 15.75. And then from here to what is essentially this axis, so you're going to have to come down here probably. You could use this line too, but you want to grab this axis, right? And we want to make that 1.188 and take that tangent arc again, select the end point of the straight line and the end point of our deck. I need to mirror this, so select the mirror line. That's the construction line you drew. Swipe over to grab both, and whenever you zoom out, you can get the full profile of the length of your board. So we'll hit the check. And here comes the best part, which is sweeping it. So we'll sweep. We want to select our face, and then we want to select our sweep path. So you have to click this, and then you want to make sure you click all 4 parts of our line, right? And this is generally what a skateboard looks like before you cut it to shape in real life too, right? You're given a blank piece of wood that has the curvature, but you have to cut the board shape out of it, right? So we're going to cut the circular shape of the board from this blank of wood, essentially, right? And then we can add where the hardware will go, which is just 4 holes on each side in a specific location to attach the trucks and the wheels. Right? So in our example, of course, we have a work plane, and then that work plane has a sketch on it. Right? And sketch 3 looks something like this, but we have to get our work plane first. So in order to do that, I'm going to use my top plane, and I'm going to create a work plane from it, right? So if you select top over here and then plane here, it automatically starts it. And I'm going to bring that up. Really, it doesn't matter because we're going to push it through all anyway. But you just want it above. Let's do like, shouldn't be higher than 2.5 inches. So we'll do 2.5. Make sure we get everything. If we miss, we might have to move that up, but we'll do 2.5. Right, and then I'm going to create a sketch on that plane. So plane 1 should hover above, and I'll rotate my view so that I can see it. I'm going to first take a center point rectangle, and I'm going to draw a rectangle from the origin point so that it goes out along the deck here. And we can determine how big that rectangle is by looking at this one, 22.75, right? So center point rectangle, select the origin, and that one was 22.75 inches long. Now we don't want it to go all the way to the end because we still have to add the nose and the tail circular parts, right? We need to add that radius. So it was 22.5, and this is how you determine your width of your board. So if you, most high school students, if you were into doing like tricks or something like that, if you really like doing flip tricks or skating what's called street, you would use a thin board, and a thin board would be like 7.5, 7.25 to 8. If your shoe size is pretty small, obviously you want a relatively small board. Whereas if you were into skating like half pipes, if you were into skating around as transportation, you want a wider board that's going to give you more stability. You don't need to flip it around all the time, right? So we're going to go kind of right in the middle. We'll do like a 7 3/4 board for this one. If you wanted to make a larger one in the future, all you have to do is make your blank a little bit larger. Because if we go 8, we could go 8, but you're going to end up clipping it a little bit. So we'd have to take a step back and make that that profile a little bit larger. But for this, we'll just do 7.75, and we should get a pretty good result out of that. All right, so we got a 7.75 with board here. Now we need to add our arcs, right? So what we can do is go to our arc, go to center point arc, and highlight the origin point. Move over, and you should be able to find the center point of our rectangle. If you click the center point, move the mouse up and click the top, you'll see that it brings the arc right around. So I just click, click, click. Should be a radius of 3.875, right? So half of 7.75. I'll do the same thing over here. Find the center point, click, move the mouse up, click at the top, bring it around to the bottom. All right, so that'll be our general shape. And we could extrude it right now, but what we want to do is add our hardware as well. So what we're going to do is take our center point rectangle again, move our mouse over off of the center point of our rectangle itself. And we're going to draw a rectangle that is, let's take a look. So it looks like they're deleted, but it's 2.5 inches away from the center and 1.378, and we'll make that I think it's 0.75. Should be more than that. Let's do like 1. Yeah. So we'll do 1.375 and then 1 on that. And then that'll make much more sense to real life. So I think these got switched over from millimeters to inches, a little bit funky. All right, so I want this center point to be, so with the dimension tool, I'll select the center point and this. We're going to make that, not 1.5, 2.5, 2.5. We're going to make the width here 1. We're going to make the length here 1.375. Right, and all we're using this rectangle for is to figure out where to place our circles. So we're going to grab the center point circle. Right on each of these points, you're going to make a 1/8, so 1/8. Nope, not 1/8. 3/16, 3/16. So a 0.188 hole. Right, we're going to place those holes through the board. Right, so center point circle, 3/16, 3/16, 3/16. Right, and you can actually delete that rectangle now. We were just using the dots or the corners, so you can click on each, delete, 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 for where to place our holes to attach our trucks. Now I need to do the same thing on the other side. Easiest way to do that, it's a nice mirror. So construction line, grab a line at the origin point and draw it. Grab the mirror tool, select this line, and select these circles. Right? Now place it over there with all the same dimensions. We can hit the check. All right. So we got our top view essentially done for our board, and we can extrude it. So I'll select every part of my board. Now by default, right, it wants to extrude up. Right, so on this one, the extrusion, what we did was create an intersect, and we changed it to through all, so that it went through no matter what, and it detected and kept all of our shapes below it. So we're going to do the same. Intersect. It doesn't quite reach, right? So we want to change blind to through all. Right, and what that does is it goes through no matter what's there. Whoops. I don't know what it did. It might have been because I clicked away. Oh, merge scope part 1. Okay, so we forgot to merge the scope with part 1, and then you'll get your shape. So you can hit the check mark there. Right, so let me go back. What we did was in extrude 1, you want to go to intersect with all your parts selected here. Make sure you don't select the holes in it. And then you want to change it to through all, and then merge scope, you have to select your skateboard, and then it'll send it right on through. Alright, and that's what a skateboard looks like. Got the nose, got the tail, and all the concaves in every direction. Alright, good luck. Whenever you're finished, you want to go ahead and hit share and send it to your team. Make sure you add it to Can View and hit that share button.